Captains of Industry, brought to you by Airtel.
Let's just start with the announcement of Walmart and the transaction, the potential transaction that is going to unfold. Walmart now looking to take a 51% stake in Massmart. And I go back to September when you initially made the announcement. I spoke to Aberdeen Asset Management at the time. 11.4% according to the register is what they had in Massmart. And I see over the last 2 months, Aberdeen Asset Management has accumulated up to 25%. Now, Aberdeen Asset Management, when I initially spoke to them, were very reticent to let you go at 148 Rand. They said you were the best emerging market retailer story globally, and they wanted a piece of that action. A long way to put it, but did Aberdeen Asset Management have something to do with strong-arming Walmart into saying, listen guys, we now have 25%. We want to participate in this growth story and we will object to the transaction if you don't go for 51%.
The discussions were never that aggressive, first of all. So it's Walmart who needed to go and speak to our major shareholders, Aberdeen being one of them. And they just had initial discussions with the shareholders to see which way they were going. And certainly some of those major shareholders said they would prefer a partial offering. Some of them didn't, by the way. Some of them would have taken the full offering. And then Walmart, listening to those major shareholders, and perhaps with some of their own reasons as well, then came to the conclusion that a 51% offer would actually work better for everyone, including themselves. And so, I think it's a nice compromise, and I think we should view the fact that Walmart are quite flexible as a good indication. It's not what their brand is known as, but people think they aren't flexible. They're flexible people, and they heard that would be a better solution, and so did it.
Well, everyone's now looking to Mexico, to Walmex, in that environment where Walmart has some 68% of that entity, and it seems to be working well. Is that the kind of model they're going to roll out here in South Africa with Massmart?
Yes, certainly. Whenever they've spoken to us about the partial offering, they've referenced Walmex. They've said for a bunch of reasons it's worked well. There is a public disclosure of performance, which obviously maybe incentivizes management more so than not. The support of the minority shareholders is always valued, and it certainly has done very well. It's actually quite a similar company to Massmart, Walmex. And so I will certainly be going there shortly to go and visit and speak with them and learn about what they did.
I've seen some numbers bandied about. If the transaction goes through, obviously Walmart's procurement strength is going to be of a big benefit to Massmart. Initial numbers that they could add 3 to 5% to your margin over the next 10 years. Have you gone as far as looking at numbers to that extent?
No, in fact, we haven't spent any time at all doing that. We've been spending time writing circulars and getting ready with presentations and running some models. So no, we haven't gone that far. That number sounds like it comes out of the Walmex history. It sounds like someone's done some analysis, because I think that's what happened at Walmex.
Is their procurement strength going to be the biggest benefit to Massmart?
I don't actually think so, by the way. I think their procurement strength will help us in half our business, which is the hard goods business. I don't think it's going to help us, if you're talking about the muscle of procurement, I don't think it's going to help us much on the food side, because food tends to be a local game. And Walmart actually, by policy around the world, buys food locally. It doesn't import it and start trading it around the world. It does that with the hard goods. So no, I don't. There is going to be some benefit. It'll just be passed on to consumers. We will generally, and our accounts are going to be public, so we can be held to account for that. Those things will be passed on to the public, and that maybe will help us with market share. In terms of food, the real value they're going to add to us is, in terms of Massmart's already public food strategy, food retail strategy, they are very good at buying fresh. And they're really starting to talk to us about that. They've got some ideas of connecting us directly to farmers, improving returns for farmers.
But this is not in the local space.
In the local space, correct.
So Walmart has these relationships existing with farmers in the local space?
Already, yes. Walmart, through its UK operation, Asda, already has a buying office in Stellenbosch that has been here for several years, that is buying export quality fruit and vegetables and exporting them around the world. So they already have some expertise here. They are global experts at this. And one of the things I've asked them to help me with right up front is come here, help us put together these programs and help us penetrate the perishable market. Meat, fruit and veg.
Do you think that just let's focus on the strategy of yours. As you stated, you're going aggressively into the fresh produce environment. Are people going to be able to see a game or a macro as a supermarket where generally you've focused on general merchandise products?
Yeah. In some of our brands, so Macro is already a food brand, already lots of people know it. It's a destination shop, it's not a convenience shop. You're not going to pop in there and buy your evening meal on the way home, but you'll do your monthly and perhaps your weekly shop there. So it's already known for food. Our low-end brand called Cambridge Foods has been operating for 20 years in the KwaZulu-Natal. It's a well-known food brand and has no problem. So the question really is, can the game name attract food customers? Fortunately, we don't have to debate this anymore. We opened Game in one city in Cape Town over a month ago, and it's been a massive success. And in fact, today, as you're talking to me now, we're opening our second store in Canal Walk, and customers so far voted with their feet and said, we like your food.
Cutthroat environment. I was speaking to Wayne Hook recently from Spa, and there's certainly, it's not a game for sissies, the grocery environment, but I take it that the market in the formal grocery environment is about 160 billion rand, if you believe the stats out there, and the informal market is a similar size. So are you after that informal market?
We're after both. Massmart's history is about taking multiple formats and trying to address the whole market, both geographically and income group-wise. So our brand Cambridge Foods operates in the low income around taxi ranks and bus stations, and that will be LSM 2 to 6. Game operates from about 7 to 10, and so we will perhaps end up with 80 Game Food Co stores in the end once we've overcome all the various hurdles. And then Macro really just targets the upper income, and so we'll pick up the upper income there. So we'll do it all.
So do you think you can eat the lunch of the likes of Pick n Pay, Shoprite, Spar?
Absolutely not. Let me be clear on that. Shoprite, Pick n Pay, are formidable competitors. We are going to consolidate some of the independent market at the lower incomes, and I think we may take some market share. Well, we will take some market share up at the upper end, but I don't expect us to be more than number 4 player for many years.
You are present in 14 African countries, and it looks as though you are going to expand your presence on the continent. But you have a strategy which is very closely tied to that of Shoprite, where you go into Shoprite's centres, so a same centre type of model. Now that you're going to start supplying food, aren't you going to find that you're going to come to loggerheads with Shoprite? And are you going to have to change your model on the continent?
That's an incorrect perception. We're not at all tied or attached or in any relationship with Shoprite whatsoever. We happen to be in some shopping centres. They're not their shopping centres.
So it's not a formal agreement.
It's not a formal agreement, and in many instances we own our own building and they own their own building. It just happens to be in the same shopping centre, or we sign leases with the common owner. There may be one or two that they own, but they have to deal with us on an arm's length basis. So there's no agreement.
So they can't stop you from selling food in those shopping centres.
There are, as has been publicly known, there are these things called exclusive lease agreements that you sign not with your competitor but with the landlord, and says, look, we would like you to be a general merchandise store, and maybe signs one with Shoprite. I've never seen one that says we would like you to be a food store. So you're restricted by the commercial agreements, but in terms of our strategy and what we can do, we're certainly allowed to open up our own standalone store and sell anything we want in it. There's no restrictions upon us whatsoever.
Is the food or the fresh produce environment a big growth strategy for you on the continent as well as in South Africa?
I don't think it's as big on the continent as it is in Africa. In South Africa. We will do it though. The whole of the game business will move probably over the next 5 to 8 years to selling a full line. The format's called a super centre, where all goods, fresh included, can be bought under one roof.
The other advantage of the type with Walmart, the brand, is that you may be able to strong arm your suppliers. Now take for instance a supplier out of China, whereas I'm not sure what your days are, you probably pay them on 60 days. With Walmart behind you, could you not push that out to 90, 120 days and deploy that working capital more efficiently in South Africa while you're obviously waiting to pay the supplier?
Well, just to let you know, on imports, there's no terms. You pay by letter of credit, and you pay as the goods get onto the ship. And obviously, you get a better price for that, which is an equivalent.
That will translate to the margin.
Yeah. So, a couple of things you said there. The Walmart already has procurement agreements and a buying office in China, and certainly the products they buy will be available to us. We got no one to strong arm. I suspect those suppliers who merely import, they don't do anything else other than import. they don't own the brand, they don't provide the service, that they just import, are probably just going to be cut out. So we call them import agents, are probably the ones going to be most affected by that. In terms of local suppliers who own the brand or manufacture the goods locally, Walmart's global buying power means nothing to them, and there's nothing to Strongarm with. What Walmart tend to focus on more is, can we take costs out of the supply chain? Can we reduce the transport cost, reduce the storage cost, reduce the wastage, reduce the packaging costs, so that we can have lower prices than our competitors.
And it's well known that Walmart is generally at loggerheads with labor in the US, and of course we've seen the unions up in arms in South Africa about the potential transaction. Is that going to be the first port of call? You say that they do look at the cost chain and they aggressively take costs out of the system. Will staff be up for sacrifice?
Well, let me just say it's absolutely not going to be the case, and in no discussions and no business plans do we have any intention of taking out any staff related to the transaction. Absolutely not. I think this is quite a complicated issue. I think it's simple, it's oversimplifying it to say, well, let's look at Walmart in the USA and judge them. I know us as South Africans would object to someone judging us. We've got our own culture, our own legal environment, our own labor environment. America's a very different place. Walmart's learned long ago the lesson, don't do things that work in America elsewhere. Really, they know that. If you look at more examples around the world, Mexico, Asda in the UK, China, India, Walmart recognizes, I think in 7 of those markets, recognizes the unions because it's a union environment. And really, we've committed and said publicly enough, we will recognize the unions. Walmart will recognize the unions. We will respect all labor law, labor legislation. I don't think you need to say that, by the way, but it's been said. And the rest, I think, is political convenience.
So you believe that the culture will fit? It's not going to be a situation where a bunch of managers come over here to head up the South African business?
No, that's been clear. Walmart have said they want to partner with someone in South Africa who's got a full complement of management. They want to retain all the management. They believe, and their mantra that they repeat to me over and over again, is local management for local customers. What they've said to me is, Grant, tell me what you want. If there's some expertise perhaps in fresh procurement, we'll give you someone. If you want someone to come and help with your non-ambient supply chain, ask for someone, we'll send someone. They can come temporarily, they can come permanently, and perhaps you just can send people over to somewhere in the world, Mexico, India, and we can get our people trained up there. So no, there's no huge expat strategy.
As you say, they've said this repeatedly to you. Do you trust them?
Absolutely, because they say it on the public record. And I think the thing that we must respect is Walmart is coming here as a 51% owner on a JSE listed company. It's going to be held to account. It's the world's largest company. Its reputation is very important to it. And I think it would be reasonably insulting to upfront not trust them when they have such a lot to lose.
You've got 50% approval for this transaction. You need 75% for it to be a go. Do you anticipate any hiccups along the way? The government, Competition Commission?
The process, fortunately, in South Africa's regulations are strong and predictable and reliable. So, I think we should be proud of that. There are really 2 main approvals we need now. One is the shareholder approval. Now, that's a reasonably predictable process. Schemes of arrangements have worked over and over again. And in fact, I think today our court documents were lodged. So the only thing there is, do we get the 75% vote or not? I must say, at 51% out of 51%, we're at 100% so far. So again, without insulting any shareholders' voting rights, I would expect to get to 75% with what we know today. I think that, on the competition side, there are 2 things that need to be considered. Issues of competition per se and public interest. There are no or little issues of competition per se. Walmart doesn't have a presence in South Africa, so buying us doesn't increase or decrease the market share at all. So I think all the experts would expect there to be no problem there. The public interest process, well, I think that is the one that we must respect. We must participate in the debate, and those people who've got concerns about the transaction must bring them there, and we look forward to debating it with them.